can I ask a question about the dorsal fin too? Is it collagen or cartilage or both?
Collagen.
Collagen. Okay,
Yes.
that's right.
Astrid, is
Is
it
that
pure
true
cartilage or is there some fibro? I mean, pure collagen?
It's fibrous,
Fibrous.
tissue, but not cartilage. No.
Is that true for all cetaceans or
As far as I know,
the
yes.
dorsal, like bottlenose, collagen?
Yeah. No cartilage, collagen, yeah, fibrous tissue.
Fibrous connective tissue.
Yeah, fibrous
That's the way I've
connective tissue.
described it.
Exactly.
Are
Yeah.
there any other cetaceans where we see fin collapse? You know,
Dorsal fin.
dorsal fin.
Maybe
You
an
see
occasional
some
damage
blue whales
door.
occasionally that I don't know. I've down in Cascadia with their blue whale catalog, and you see some whales without dorsal fins on them at all,
Hmm.
and whether they got chewed off by killer whales or. There was one I remember matching a finless whale to a whale with a fin, and in the picture that had the fin in it, it looked like there was a crease at the bottom of the fin, like maybe it got smashed under somebody else. And I don't know if it killed tissue or whatever, but it. And the next picture of the whale, it was a very clean, didn't look chewed off or anything. So
Have you
I
ever
wonder if it's
seen
energy.
collapse in the wild?
Yeah, no, yes,
Yeah.
there are some. Yeah.
But I mean, for what, 1 to 5%? It's a full collapse. I'm not talking about.
Probably less than
Bending
1%,
Probably
isn't
less
it?
than
Yeah.
1%.
Yeah.
Bering Sea and Gulf of Alaska, there are a lot of a lot of resident type whales out there. And you don't see too many, and it's kind of half of them look like they're on their way out,
Anyway.
and others are just right. Yeah, there's up in the False Pass area, Eastern Aleutians. There's a regular transient that we've been seeing for years. It has a collapsed dorsal, and whether that was those are gray whale killers, so that might have been an injury, colliding
Yeah.
the fin with a heavier
Sure.
body or something.
Is it always males who have it, or do you ever see females?
I've seen a couple little juveniles with collapsed fins
Really?
up there in the Bering, but I don't know if there's any.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of them definitely had a spinal issue, but I'm not sure if that's from prop damage or I don't know. It just being unhealthy when they're young and then maybe getting over it.
Yeah, plus that it may also be a cause for injury. Now, like in the past, about 25% of whales in the northern residents had a bullet wound, and that, if then scar tissue and it weakens too much, that may also cause a fin.
Yeah, it can deteriorate a little bit too.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of those G's, if you look at Brian Gisborne's pictures of northern residents that come out here, a lot of those G's all seem like they've been nipped up, like people or other whales have been, raking them or something, but biting the tip of their dorsal and then their dorsal fin kind of deteriorates a little bit. So there is a bunch of northern resident bulls that always seem like they were being a little too pushy or something.
Dave and Astrid, John Jett and myself in our papers used the number less than 1%. You think that's a decent estimate?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the few that are well documented are like the couple bulls in Prince William Sound that collapsed shortly after the Exxon Valdez oil spill, and that might have just been poor health, but they stuck around for a while.
Right.
So sometimes you can kind of tell if it's a whale and a whale that's going to get a peanut head and its fin is going to start to collapse.
Yeah.
And you can usually tell the ones that are poor health, but yeah, there are a few others out there bopping around that are, look like an injury happened a long time ago and they just get on with life as they,
That picture of K-17 is floating.
I think it's.
Oh, here. Like, this was my favorite whale, and that was the day he died. And you see, here's the blowhole, and you see that
head.
sunken area behind the neck. And every time he came up, his fin would just, lean. Because he was dehydrated, probably, so there was less tissue firmness.
So dehydration might explain fin
Yeah, well,
collapse in
I
captivity.
think for captivity that there are a number of reasons. One may be pattern swimming. That they
We're talking about reasons for fin collapse in
Dorsal
captivity.
so I think there's several possible reasons. One may be pattern swimming. In the wild, of course, they may turn, chasing fish and everything, but it will be random. And most of the time they just swim straight, so there's a flow of water on both sides of the fin. But in captivity, usually they have a preferred swimming pattern, like clockwise or counterclockwise, and they have to turn constantly because of the shape of the tank. And so there is a one-sided pressure on the fin, much more than the other way. That's one. Second, captive orcas rest a lot at the surface, so that the fin isn't weightless, but gravity pulls on the fin. Third, I think they are kept, at least in some parks, in water that's warmer than here. And of course, when the fin is up in the air, it's warmer.
Or the sunlight.
And
too,
if they eat, because they normally extract their fluids from their food, because they don't drink, but they basically need fresh water as much as we do. They extract it from their food. So, and a lot of captives eat less in captivity than in the wild, either because they have less physical exercise, and second, because they're exposed to higher temperatures, and so they will actually extract less fluids, so they may be just at a lower hydration state as the wild killer whales.
What about dead fish or frozen fish? Would they have less fresh water than a live fish? Any way of knowing that?
I don't.
By visually inspecting the fish, I can tell you that they look wrinkly when you're shoveling smelt from a bucket after it's been frozen, and then you're just transferring it. It feels
Less firm.
less firm,
Less wet.
wrinkly, more wrinkly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that means that there are fewer
they're
fluids in
desiccated.
those fish.
Yeah.
Right.
Although I've seen that SeaWorld, they also sometimes with fresh water,
Pump it into the-
hose the whales, and they maybe, but I don't know, because whales won't be used to swallowing water.
Mm-hmm.
They may like the feel, but I don't know if they swallow it.
They've taught, I know Tillicum, they've taught to drink from a
Mhm.
cup or a hose or something.
Okay.
But so dehydration could lead to fin collapse. Let me ask you a question about the. I thought most of them circled counterclockwise. I thought that was the more common, but I didn't realize some go clockwise. Has there been any effort to determine those that go clockwise lean left and those that go counterclockwise lean right, or
I
vice
haven't
versa?
looked at that. I don't know, because I never recorded what their. Of course, we could look up the fin collapse direction from the photos, but I don't know what the preferred traveling.
Have to correlate if that were a factor, right?
If that were definitely,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
And then the last thing is a small genetic factor, and that is that you see in the wild 99+% has a straight fin, but here with the distances they travel and the hunting they have to do, they are basically all athletes. But in captivity, just like people, some people don't exercise, but they still have a well-proportionate muscular body, and others get pudgy and fat and are not muscular. So where Katina and Gudrun, for example, led the same life, Gudrun was more muscular and streamlined than Katina was, or is. So I think there's also just the personal build of a whale. But if, in the wild, because they all have their exercise, that wouldn't be a factor. But if you don't exercise at all, then that may be more clear.
And what about general health? Because we saw these Exxon whales, after they became sick from the toxins, their fin collapse. Could fin collapse in captivity be a sign of general subpar health in and of itself? Or an immune issue?
Well, I think that there have been some captives that had really chronic conditions, like Hayak had bronchiectasis, which is a sort of inflammation with pus forming in lung cavities, and you cannot really, and then just the foci with that increase, and gradually you get less and less lung tissue that can actually, absorb oxygen. But apart from that, most death in captivity, what I remember is that it's discovered quite late. Because you imagine in the wild, the survival of the whale rests with their being with their pod. So if they get sick, they may quit hunting because they don't have the energy for it. But they'll continue to swim with them. I mean, by the time a whale really can't keep up with the pod anymore, it's very close to death. So it's an instinct is not a word that I would like, but it's almost inborn, just, you go on as long as you can. And you only stop when you really can no more. So usually, what Jeff also told me, trainers that know the whales very, very, very well may see, well, that whale is just not as quick to respond, and it may be because the whale is cross, but if it's just a little sluggish or doesn't really accept the food as eagerly as normal, immediately they call in a vet and let the whale be checked up and that sort of thing. And there are animals that, between the first sign of illness and death, there was like less than 48 hours. Yeah. So they usually tend to their mentality is go on until you can't anymore.
When they stop hunting, do other animals try to share their food with them?
Yeah, there's evidence that they do. Yeah.
Astrid, I'm going to sign this part of the tape off because I'm running out of battery, but thank you very much for this great interview.
Okay.